Good afternoon, everybody. It's your pal Martin the Metalhead here. Hope you're going well. It's day number 20 in Vlogust. So, only 11 days left through the month of August. And today's topic is the times I have walked out of a job. Okay. We all have to work to get by in life. Many of us have really sucky, crappy, and shitty jobs that it makes us feel depressed. It puts us in bad moods. We become evil people. We do contemplate suicide. We do contemplate doing stupid things. Because if we were to basically just leave our jobs, what would we do? We'd end up on the streets. We'd end up in destitute. We wouldn't have a roof over our house. We wouldn't have food to feed us all. So, being between jobs is always a hard thing. And I have always been a working class man, but there are many times in my life I basically just got up and left. Basically said, F this is not me, I don't want to be here, I don't want to do this. Everybody can go to hell. Exactly. Now, it all started many years ago. The first job that I ever walked out of was a Mexican restaurant that I worked for 22 months. I was a dishwasher and nothing else. The fastest Uruguayan owner wouldn't let me work in the bar, and I hated him a lot. I was the only Australian-born person working in the kitchen, and I literally had to wash all the dishes in a separate room and take them to the kitchen. This one day, I turned up to work at 4 o'clock, and there was just so much piles of shit everywhere at the washroom. The head chef, Maria, who was Chilean, who I also hated, she came in and just basically started criticizing why this place is a pigsty, and nobody had been in washing dishes for a whole hour. So, I start doing my job, there's hardly any customers, and then 25 minutes later, she comes back in and she starts criticizing me about drying plates. And management had already said you had to dry the plates, otherwise, you can't carry wet plates back into the kitchen. Causes injury, wet floors, da 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 da. So then she comes back in, being a total bitch, and just yelling her head off at me and telling me to hurry up. So here's me picking up 8 stacks of plates at once, running into the kitchen, slamming them down, running back and forth, and all. And then all of a sudden, I tore off my apron and hat and I said, I quit. I don't want to wash dishes anymore. And she said, but why? And I said, I want to be on the pension. And so I walked out. She says, you can't quit. You got to work it. You got to do this job. So literally, I walked to the counter and I said, clock me out. I'm not coming back. I went back to the restaurant like a few days later to put paperwork in. And the manager called me a silly boy. So for the next 2 years, I drank free coffee at his restaurant until I just realized he's a scumbag, he's a loser. I wish death upon him, and he just died just a few months ago, so that was a relief. I once did a job which was loading up equipment at all these concerts, but then I realized I wasn't really strong enough to do that type of work. And I was working with a marshmallow and I hated him. So I told him I was going to enjoy spending his tax money on crap because I was on the dole. I had this really awful job at Little Rock Cafe in Borkham Hills for 11 months in 2011. Yet again, I was a dishwasher. Because the managers were sexist dog, they wouldn't hire men to work as waiters. I just wanted female waitresses. Fair enough, but literally, I shouldn't be discriminated because I have dick and balls, So just one day, I got nothing to do, I'm trying to fix things up, and the Irish chef, who I didn't like, hated him, wished death upon him, just starts, we get into an argument at all, so basically I tell him I'm going on strike, I'm not coming back until you've quit. And so he became a bit of a bully to me in my last few weeks on the job, and I'm kind of glad I haven't crossed his path in years, but I did track him down many years ago and harassed him, basically just telling him what a wanker he was to work with, and I just hoped death upon him. Yeah. In 2013, I had a really crap time working with Spotless. It's just an agency that made me go from place to place. They sent me to a nursing home, and after a few hours, I'm like, fuck this. I don't want to be in a nursing home. This is too depressive, even though I'm just washing dishes. And then they got me just washing dishes at the Sydney Airport, the domestic lounge, the Virgin Lounge, and paying a shitload of money to get to Sydney Airport every day for work was just a pain in the ass. Because if you, let's just say, if you take the train from anywhere in Sydney to Sydney International Airport and you pay this really bad fee because it's a privatised line, but if you get off at Mascot and you take a bus to the airport, you don't pay much money. So I remember just at the heat of the moment, I was like, I really don't want to be here. I really don't want to wash dishes. I want to be a waiter. Why am I not doing this in my life? I'm out. I'm leaving. Yeah. I quit. Yes. And so I did go back to work for Spotless, but they were just really horrible people to work with, and I swore never to work with them again. Hell, even 3 years later, they were like pestering me for work when I was in Melbourne. I told them to shove it. I said, I know you people. You treat me like shit in Sydney, so you can't treat me like this in Melbourne. Bugger off. The last time I walked out of a job in Australia was when I was working at Crown Casino. I was working with this Asian Australian fat man who called me a puff and duff, the name of a homosexual bar. Now, I'm not a homosexual, I'm not LGBT, I am heterosexual, but I just thought, like, how dare this guy call me this because, you know, I'm dressed to be like waiter, but they wanted me to be a kitchen porter. So this chef I was working with was telling me to relax, and he called me a puff and duff, and I swore at him. I said, bitch, I have fucking anxiety. And like, when I walked out, I started swearing at my manager, and she was telling me to calm down. And so, literally, I just left after 2 hours, and then I rang up Crown Casino, and I basically said I had to work with 2 disgusting homophobic people who threw abuse at me, calling me a puff and duff. And I said to them, if this was a Muslim country like Mogadishu, I would have bashed the living shit out of them. So, we're going on to my career in the United Kingdom. It was April 2016, and I'm in a sad, depressive state because I've been bullied on the job by this white British vermin who are making Australian jokes and asking me every time I enter this Alston grid in Stafford, they would ask me, is there a bomb in your bag? And this was a whole month before what happened in Manchester Arena. Can you believe it? So, these idiots at Bear Recruitment, they sent me to work at an Indian wedding and all. And this Indian man was really rude to me, insulting me in front of people, complaining about my apron not being tied down. And I'm a person who said a lot of nasty things about India and Indian people. And this woman, basically, she insulted my mental illness in front of all this staff, saying, "Man, I can see it in your face, relax, breathe." And so, literally, I was in Doncaster, alright, and I lived in Birmingham. So, what I did was, I basically just walked out. I basically said, fuck this, I am not going to be working with a bunch of disgusting Indian British people who are being just jerks to me and disrespectful. I'm not happy with my life. I quit. Well, I didn't really quit the job, but I basically, what I did was, my phone was flat. I took a train from Doncaster to Sheffield and a bus all the way back to Birmingham. And I basically just woke up the next day and I told my manager, I basically said, look, this is what's been happening. These Indian caterers were rude to me. I've been having to deal with a lot of bullying at this other site. So then 2 days later, I got punched out in Birmingham, and then a few days after that, I was working at this arena and I saw this bartender who, I'm not going to describe who he was or what background, blah, 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 but let's just say it was just dumb shit. He made me wait half an hour for me to give 2 beers and a Coke to a customer. I couldn't even find a freaking bar to give me 2 beers and a Coke to a customer. So literally, I threw my tray on the ground and I walked out. And this Welsh guy is like, saying, I've been waiting half an hour, where's my beers? And I said, well, unfortunately, I'm quitting. This job fucking sucks. And so, I had a lot of repercussion because I said nasty things about that bartender and the Indian caterers. I literally basically had to apologize, even though I just basically said nasty things. Nothing to do with race itself, but just basically like, you're not a good worker, you're hopeless, you're insulting me, you're rude, you're vile, fuck this. Okay. Last year, I was getting really tired of the company I've been working for 5 years. My head chef was making me, be a kitchen porter and wait at the same time. And I just couldn't keep up with it. So one day I basically said, fuck it, I'm quitting. So literally I walked out, I quit, and then I came back 2 days later. And I agreed to work for the next 2 months until I went to South Africa. It's because I was getting fed up with the manager of this place, cutting corners, doing shit. All the people I was working with were unhappy. They were all fucking off like flies. And I just thought to myself, I've done my 5 years on this job. I'm gonna quit. Today in London, I quit my job because I was sick and tired of this manager. I've been working for 3 months. Just fucking criticizing me because I'm waiting for food. I'm not doing anything. I've done everything I can. I mean, you are a dumb shit if you don't do a good job. You are a dumb shit if you plate food up incorrectly. You are a dumb shit if you send the wrong food up. You are a dumb shit if you make a customer wait 40 minutes for food. Disregarding on if you were born in the UK or not. People are allowed to have constructive opinions basically saying, look, this is not good, I'm a working class person, I'm a perfectionist, I got OCPD, Mr. Perfect, da 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 da. If you can't fix this right, you need to hire in the people who are smart asses, no matter if they are British or not. So anyway, this concludes my history of walking out of jobs. I also did walk out of a couple of jobs earlier this year because literally I just didn't want the job, I just didn't want to be there, da 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 da. But in life, right, you should just give notice. Give notice if you're really unhappy with a job and just speak up about it. Don't bottle in things and hold it back. Because, many months ago, actually last year, I worked with two disgusting chefs who were rude to me, asked me personal shit about my life, and they were so disgusting they dropped toothpicks on the floor and they didn't throw them out. And so when I rang up to, make a prank call to the bar, they're like, well, why didn't you complain a month ago? Why didn't you complain months ago? Why didn't you complain on the day? I said, I bottle things up and I leave 1-star reviews on businesses who treat me shit. So I think you need to hire the right people who are not perverted, who are not rude, and who are not disgusting vermin. Anyway, this is Martin the Metalhead. I'm over and out.